Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastannivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururityabhidhiyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryamkaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have been looking at these three words, Sat Chit Ananda, Asti Bhati Priyam, what else? Satta Spurti Saukhyam, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That's a lot of words. They all mean the same thing. We have seen that as well. We have been looking at these words which indicate Brahman. They are not adjectival to Brahman. They indicate Brahman just like a signpost indicates the way to a particular place. The indicatory words show the object of that which they indicate as non-separate from I, the subject. And the reason why these indicatory words work is primarily because the subject which these words point to happens to be self-evident. The self-evident I alone is the subject, and since the self-evident I doesn't need to be pointed out, because if that were the case, there would be no Vedanta. Because we cannot say Sat, because my existence has to be pointed out by some word, and that word becomes powerful, more powerful than the self. Cannot also, and then if I am not self-evident, no chit, no consciousness, and the consciousness is what is the cause of the universe, that sentient consciousness. And if I am not conscious, then I become like every other jada vastu, and insentient item in the universe. In fact, the whole Vedanta Shastra is possible only because the self happens to be self-evident. The entire pages of all the big Upanishads, like Big Forest Upanishad, what's that? Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So like this, all these Upanishads, Chandogya Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, everything, it all hinges on the I being self-evident. If the I were not self-evident, first of all, there would be no Vedanta. Second of all, I would not need Vedanta. Why? Because I would be a rock, as good as a rock. And if I am as good as a rock, I rock. So I don't have complexes centered on the self. I don't have any complexes. Does the rock have any complexes centered on the self? Absolutely not. It's not possible. No sukshma sharira and no chit, no self-evident I. So the self-evident I being there that makes the Shastra possible. Not only does that make the Shastra possible, it makes the Shastra extremely necessary, because the self-evident I is so free, it's free enough, it's so that consciousness is uninhibited in the human body-mind complex, in the human upadhi. It is uninhibited enough to have complexes about itself. I am free enough to judge the whole world. This one is terrible, that one is awful, this one, needs improvement. And then what? This one is not really a Vedantin. So, and then that, see, finally when I this is a teenage word, okay? Yeah, when I diss the whole world, when I disrespect and critique the whole world, then finally what is left out? Yeah, then that moving finger comes back here in the form of self-blame, diffidence, I don't like myself, critique, fear, sorrow, all these, anxiety, everything. And so, it is a mixed blessing. The self-evident I is a mixed blessing. On the one hand, it is free, it is whole, and sadly, it needs to be taught that because it is free enough to come to conclusions about itself that are wrong. That is why we need these words. And that is why the words work, because that to which they point is immediately recognized as I. And it is recognized as I, but what kind of I? A finite small I, a small I thrown into this vast universe, hopeless, helpless, wanting to be saved. And what do the indicatory words tell us? The indicatory words tell us that you were never enslaved, so you don't need to be saved. Only that which is bound needs to be saved. Not bound. So, no saving necessary. No saving necessary, because if one is not bound, what is there to save? What is there to, ko bandha? In fact, in many Vedanta texts, they ask the question, ka muktihi, ko bandha? What is this bondage? Where is this bondage? The teacher says, where is this bondage? All I see is the free self, which is the cause of the universe. Where is this bondage? Oh, there is no bondage? No. Okay, if there is no bondage, then why am I here? Well, it's good to ask that question on the second last day. So, why am I here? That's a very good question. Am I bound? I'm not bound. And if I'm not bound, what am I doing here? What I'm doing here is because I have a sensation of bondage. So why am I here? To remove that sensation, that notion of bondage. Samsara, therefore, is a notion, not an ocean. If you think it's an ocean, then one is in a boatload of trouble. But it is a notion. So here, these three words are presented. I mean, we saw these words earlier. In the beginning of the text, we saw them in detail. But then, these three words are presented again because this is a teaching text. And then they are not presented in the same way. They are presented with a slight difference. And what is that difference? The difference is this, that it is challenging us. The same three indicatory words are presented for us to see that we cannot establish a difference between the hapless, hopeless individual full of all kinds of complexes and Ishvara. There is no basis for that. There is no mana. Mana means of knowledge. Ma, knowledge. Manam. It becomes an abstract noun, means of knowledge. Pramanam, same thing. Pramayaha karanam, instrument of knowledge. Pramanam. So, what is the proof to say that you are separate from Ishvara? Let us take these three words, these three indicatory words, and see that whether from the point of Sat, can you deny that your existence is the same as existence of Ishvara? We saw you cannot. From the standpoint of Chit, can you deny that you are separate from Ishvara? Absolutely not. Why? Because that consciousness itself is Ishvara. That existence itself is Ishvara. From the standpoint of Ananda, you cannot deny that you are not Ishvara. This is very nice because even though the Shastra is a, what is it called, pramana, means of knowledge, there is still other means of knowledge operating in the head. But what about this? What about that? And how can it be true? Not only means of knowledge, other mischief happening in the head. Blocks, resistance, fears, things that do not make me listen properly. And this is very nice because here the individual feels I am in charge, even though the Shastra itself is in charge, which is why these verses are very important. Because the individual is challenged to see whether there is a difference between oneself and Ishvara, so the mind starts going over time and the mind starts getting lulled into a sensation that, oh, I am the one looking into the differences. And then the mind is tired, and then another word is presented, indicatory word, and then so the knowledge reigns, and the mind hopefully gives up. If it hasn't given up, then there are a couple more verses on the same, on the same vein. Let us read 65. Na jiva brahmano bhedah namna rupena vidyate namno rupasya mithyatvat na jiva brahmano bhedah pinda brahmanda bhedatah vyashte samashte rekatvat brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva naparah jivan muktastu tadvidvan So after having discussed these three words, Sat Chit Ananda, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, then what else is left? Satyam Jnanam Anantam plus Nama Rupa. This is the Jagat. We saw the definition of Jagat. Jagat is Satchidananda plus Nama Rupa. So if there is no difference from the standpoint of Satchidananda, for who? For the person here, there is no difference. Then what about name and form? Between Jiva and Ishvara, is there any difference between name and form? This is the next verse. Here again we have to be careful, because on the surface level, the surface level internalization of Vedanta sometimes make us think that the Nama Rupa has to be cast aside. Nama Rupa is the problem. Oh, it's just Nama Rupa, just Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa, Nama Rupa. And name and form is the troublemaker. But that's in the beginning stages of the teaching of the text. Beginning stages means what? That is right in the beginning, not the ultimate conclusion that one has to arrive at. Just like in the beginning, what do we say? Atma, Anatma. Two things. I, not I. So the not I has to be separated because it is threatening to mix. In fact, it's not just threatening, it has already mixed up itself with the I. So first you have to separate, that is part A of Vedanta, to be able to see everything clearly. Separate means cognitively separate. And then as though unite that which was never separate to begin with. So both the quote-unquote separation, the separating act, and the quote-unquote uniting act is just a cognitive exercise for that which was never separate, never one, never two to begin with. In fact, it's the only thing there is. If it's the only thing there is, why do I call it one? One means there should be half, 1/4, or 2, 3. It's neither one nor two nor anything. It just simply is. It's the only thing that there is. So similarly, in the beginning, the focus on Nama Rupa is set aside. We are told that the Nama Rupa is what? Finite. And what is Ishvara? Infinite. Nama Rupa, just a shell. Ishvara, filling. These are all ways to understand this. Nama Rupa, temporary. Ishvara, permanent. Nama Rupa, finite. Ishvara, limitless. All this we are told. Nama Rupa, Jada. Ishvara, Chit. So now, the time has come to look at the Nama Rupa and Ishvaraize the Nama Rupa. This is why it says that from the standpoint of Nama Rupa also, na jiva brahmano bhedaha vidyate. Vidyate is. Is what? Is not. Okay? Na. That na vidyate is not. What is not? Jiva and Brahman, Jiva and between Jiva and Ishvara, bheda, difference. No difference. How do you say there is no difference? Because what are the Nama? First we have to see it from different angles. What are the Nama Rupas? What are they? Mithya. They are all Mithya. They are all as though add-ons to the Jagat. And even in the Jiva's life, how many names does one have? So many names. Somebody says, somebody calls you daughter, son. Somebody else calls you spouse. Somebody else calls you mother, father. Friend, neighbor, co-worker. How many names do you have? Plus there are some pet names. That is also there. So just like all these names point to what? One person. It's not that the son is different from the one who is the father, it's the same one. It's not that the daughter is different from the one who is the mother. Because that same person can be along with the daughter and along with the mother at the same time in the same place and not have any problems like, who am I? Oh my God, I have to choose between these two roles. Am I mom? Am I daughter? This doesn't arise. Why? Because that person knows both I am, neither I am. That is how it is. In order to be both, one is not essentially anything. So all Nama Rupas belong to Ishvara. First, so this verse has to be assimilated through different stages. Step number 1, all Nama Rupas belong to Ishvara. Ishvaraize the Nama Rupas. That's why we have Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama, 1,000 names. We can also have 100,008 names. There are. So Lakshanama, 100,008 names. Why? Because all names belong to who? Ishvara, who is oneself, formless, nameless. This is the fun part in Vedanta. Vedanta is a series of paradoxes. Because we don't want you to be comfortable. Yeah. We want you to wiggle. Like, as soon as you say, oh, Satchidananda, wait. Oh, Namrupa, no. All names belong to Ishvara, but we can't stop there. That means we'll be stuck. Name, belonging, Ishvara. We'll be stuck with three things. Name form on one side, and then the possession, the connection between the name and the form and Ishvara is what? Through the possessive case belongs to Ishvara's name, Ishvara's form. That means there is two. So then, first we say, all names belong to Ishvara, and we revel in that. We revel in all the names belonging to Ishvara. That's why we worship Ishvara with 1,000 names, 100,000 names. We can even have 1,000,000 names. Because the infinite can be called by many names, and still it will not be enough. Even if all the words in every dictionary of every language were used to glorify Ishvara, it will still be found lacking. Because we are talking of the infinite. Language finite, words finite. And that's why we don't have 1,000,000 names, because the person would be tired. People composing it would run out of energy, steam. So, we can have any number of names. And all the names point to that who is what? Essentially nameless and formless. That is step number 2. Step number 1, all names belong to Bhagavan. Step number 2, Bhagavan is free of all names. All names are Bhagavan. Bhagavan is not any single name. In order to bless all names, cannot be any single name. So, that's why the Jagat, step number 3, the Jagat which is Namarupa, Namarupatmakam Jagat, the Jagat which is a composite of all kinds of names and forms, therefore is not separate from Ishvara, is Ishvara. Why? All the names are Ishvara. Jagat is a composite of all names and forms, so all names, the Jagat is therefore Ishvara. But Ishvara is not the Jagat. This is where that creative tension has to be maintained. Don't get too comfortable. Because the understanding will be partial. That's why. It will not be a total understanding. So, Jagat is nothing but Bhagavan. Bhagavan, you cannot say, is the Jagat. And then, in the same way, now we look at the Bheda. What is the Bheda? Bheda means difference. So, difference. Is there a difference between Jiva and Ishvara from the standpoint of names? No. You can call a person any number of names. Yeah. If you like them, you will have a different set of names, that's all. If you don't like them, you will have a different set of names. But you can call the same person any number of names. That doesn't make any difference to the person because the person is the same. Names may differ, roles may differ, but the person is the same. And the same thing with Ishvara. Oh, but the names that are called for the Jiva are finite. Who said? Who said? You look at the names in the tradition. Everybody, at least in the last century or so, and long before that, now maybe some new names are coming in the baby names. Before, and some of these baby names don't make any sense. Yeah, and they Google the site and the Indian baby names. And then I have to sit and figure it out what it means. Because they will then say, we want to name the baby something. Recently there was somebody who said, and that made no sense at all. And I said, this is not a Sanskrit word. They said, no, our heart is set on this name. Make sense of it somehow. Then I have to sit and rack my brains and look for the nearest sounding Sanskrit word. Sometimes it is not there at all. So, we are not talking of the modern names. The traditional names are all of Bhagavan only. Because every name is Bhagavan. This is the only culture, really. We have the straight away. If it's a girl, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Parvati, right from the beginning. or their epithets. And or if it is a boy, then various forms of Rama, Krishna, Shiva. That's all. Ganesha, of course. How can we forget Ganesha? And this was a no-brainer. And since there are many names for Rama, Krishna, Shiva, and since there are many names for Ganesha, we never ran, and for the goddesses, we never ran out of names. So, therefore, even in the cultural practices, there is no difference between Ishvara and Jiva. If a girl is born and she is named Lakshmi, then that means what? The parents are seeing her as an embodiment of abundance. It's an indication that she has brought abundance into their lives, into the lives of the family. Oh, but she is so small, how can she bring abundance? It's an intention. It's the sankalpa that she will live up to her name as she grows and be the embodiment and the memory of abundance wherever she goes. Same thing, if somebody is named Saraswati, she is the incarnation of knowledge. And even though she may not even have seen the face of a school, in certain times women were not educated, but still that blessing of the name itself would mean that she had a lot of intelligence, she had a lot of knowledge, and she was very good in everything she did. Maybe she could bring out a cookbook or something like that. Somebody could take down the recipes and bring out a cookbook or some other book like this, even though she herself doesn't know how to read or write. So the intention of the elders and would be, would just be imbued in the names of Bhagavan given to various jivas. And that means what? That means there is no difference. In the practice of naming itself, there is no difference. So how can you say that there is a difference between Jiva and Ishvara from the standpoint of name? And even if you say, oh, that name is infinite, this is finite, we have to see that that which is finite is included in the infinite. How can it not be included? It is of course included in the infinite. So, this is something to understand. This is as far as the name goes. Form. Form is again like a stumbling block. Because one looks at one's own body, mind, senses, and says, oh my God, look at this. Somehow it is being dragged around. And like that person told me, I said, where does it hurt? It's easier to respond where it does not hurt. Ask me where it is not paining, I'll tell you that. Where it hurts, I can't tell. And so, this way, the form can become a stumbling block. But again, all forms are Ishvara's form. Therefore, we can invoke Ishvara in any form, in any name. We have seen all this earlier. No, we haven't. Yes, we have. That's why I always keep some, Some things to remember quickly. Visa Ganapati. Ah, yeah, that one. So, every form is Bhagavan's form. Every function is Bhagavan's function. So, I have the freedom to invoke Bhagavan through any name, any form, at any time. All forms are Bhagavan's form. The essential nature of Bhagavan is nameless, formless. Same thing, step 1, step 2. And then, when I come to my form, there is a stumbling block. Oh, how can I be Ishvara? It's even a struggle to walk from one place to another. How I can be Ishvara? That's why Pujya Swamiji has told us many times the story of the wave and the ocean. And what did the wave say? I'm too tired to even wave. Goodbye. I am sad. I'm just going to the shore and then I'm being hit back and then I'm just there. You want my CV? Look. It may be dripping wet, but look, it has wonderful things to say about me. I was born in a cultured, wavy family. And then I proceeded to be very well educated. I mastered in marine biology and then did my PhD on plankton. Okay. Kind of an algae. Okay, yeah. I became Dr. Wave. Very nice. Dr. Wave, comma, PhD, for good measure. Then I revolutionized the industry. Wherever I worked, I found a name for myself. Here, look at this showcase. But wear some sunglasses, please, because the awards may blind you permanently. So many trophies, so many plaques, so many things, medals, citations. Everything is collected here. And I was big, huge. Every other wave in this entire ocean used to do Sashtanga Namaskara. Of course, it will get up like that because it's a wave. Used to do Sashtanga Namaskara. Dr. Vevaya Namaha. Every wave knew me on its lips. And I was first on Google as soon as they put my name in the search box on any browser. I was the one to come up first. So many hits. And look at me now. Weak, tired, old. No more accolades, no more anything. Even Lord Yama has forgotten me. Not coming to get me. Even after I requested, many times I put in a request, come and get me. In fact, I should have gone out with a bang, but somehow I'm still here. I think now I need a sleep because I'm so tired after talking all this. Then there is an even smaller wave, as the story goes. And that one is jumping, bright, cheerful. And this Dr. Wave looks at it and says, annoying. Yeah. If one is feeling sad, low energy, disenchanted, and then you see somebody hopping like a bunny. Boing, boing, boing. happily, just jumping around. You feel like slapping. What gives you the right to do this? How old are you? Doesn't even ask, what is your name? How old are you? Then the old Dr. Wave is shocked because the boing boing wave says, I am 2 years older than you. Insult on top of injury. Insult on top of injury. At least if it was a small young thing, you could have ignored it. You could have just told it, beware, you will get to my stage. And you could have dampened its enthusiasm and sent it along the way. Glared at it and sent it along the way. Here, even that option is not there. Oh, 2 years older than me. Yeah. Why are you so cheerful? Why are you so down in the dumps? The other one asked. Boing, boing, wave, boingananda. Yes. Full of ananda it is. Why are you so down in the dumps? What happened to you? Did a truck run over you or something? What happened? Oh, I used to be, here is my CV, drying it out, showing it. This is my resume. Look at all these things. Very sad. You should also be sad along with me. Then we can have a support group. Why are you so happy? Don't you see? And the other wave says, do you want to know why I'm so happy? Yeah, I suppose. All right, tell. Since I'm tired, I'll just listen. No energy, but yeah, tell. All right, tell. And then the wave says, you are sad because you have a notion that you are a wave. In fact, you are not a wave at all. Ayyayo, at least I was a wave. Now you are coming to take that also away from me. No, listen. You are not the wave. You are the ocean. Oh. Means prayashchitta. Atonement. This is an act of atonement. Actually, it's slapping oneself, but nobody wants to slap oneself. So one just pats the cheek as though you're putting some toner or something like that. Dab, dab, dab. Men do this, like aftershave lotion. So then, it's atonement. Like, how dare you can say that I am the ocean. So on your behalf, I am asking pardon. Even if I have entertained that thought by mistake, I am asking pardon. No, not possible. But then what? Then the small wave persists and says, come on, sit up, you're slouching. How can I teach you like this? Okay. All right, talk. Dr. Wave is intrigued. Dr. Wave never thought that it would receive instruction from someone else, because it was always giving both instruction and benediction to the whole world. It had developed a permanent wave, okay, blessing everybody like this. And finally, because it was out of all options, it dragged itself to a seated position to just sit and listen. You are the ocean. No, don't say that. No, you are the ocean. What are you made up of? Oh, come on. I have done my PhD on this only. The teacher wave thinks Yes, but it obviously is not of much use. Your PhD is not of much use because you are in the doldrums. And what are you made up of? Come on, humor me, tell me. Water. Yes, wonderful. H2O. Good. What is the ocean made up of? Now you are insulting me. No, I really want to know. H2O. So if somebody wanted to touch the ocean, is it enough that they touch you? And then the wave really sits up because it's now has many, many ideas, and all its dampness and its sorrow is departing. It really sits up. I never thought of that. I never thought of that. I never thought that when people come to pay respects to the ocean, there is no other way of paying respects to the ocean other than to pay respect to me and all other waves. And Dr. Wave is enlightened and understands what? The main thing that we have to understand here. Wave, limited form, limited name. We finished the discussion on names. Limited form, limited. Everything is limited. Energy limited. Head full of complexes. Finite upadhi. Ocean, infinite upadhi. Ocean is in charge of waves, not the other way around. From the standpoint of wave, the wave is what? Limited, discrete, jiva. And the ocean is equal to limitless Ishvara. Limitless, all-pervasive Ishvara. The ocean pervades the wave. This standpoint we know. This is the everyday reality. And this is a transactional empirical reality. But the empirical reality is not the absolute reality. The absolute reality is that if you want to touch the ocean, you have to touch the wave. Even if you say, I want to bypass the wave and touch the ocean, and you take a boat and try to pat the water somewhere, even then you will encounter a wave. So if you want to touch the ocean, the form of the wave cannot be bypassed. In fact, wave is nothing but an iteration of the ocean. Ocean, wave is ocean. Ocean is not wave. Jiva is Ishvara. Ishvara is not Jiva because Ishvara is everything. So this is why from the standpoint of the form, there is no difference. There is no difference. In every form you can invoke Ishvara. You can invoke Ishvara even in the human being if the human being is humble enough. You can invoke Ishvara and worship Ishvara through the human being. No problem. So like this, from the standpoint of name and form, nothing is there. And the wave goes away happy because it has benefited from the Mahavakya, a sentence that unfolds the non-difference between Jiva and Ishvara. And so, from the standpoint of name, no difference. From the standpoint of form, no difference. There is one more here, verse, which says, Najiva Brahmano Bhedaha Pinda Brahmanda Bhedataha. So, another difference. What is the difference? Pinda. Pinda literally means a mass. Oh, a mass? What is that? A mass of flesh, bones and blood. What is that? Jiva. Jiva, identified with the finite body-mind-sense complex, is called Pinda. And the Pinda is a relational word and which corresponds on the level of the total. This is on the level of the individual, Pinda, and then on the level of the total, what is there? Brahmanda. And don't go for literal translations. Anda, egg. Brahma, Brahman. Egg of Brahman. Yeah. And then there is one more word is there which is badly translated. What was it? Hiranya Garbha. Hiranya, gold. Garbha, womb. Golden womb. Don't go there. Okay? These are all technical terms. Pinda, Brahmanda. So sometimes to make it equal, they say Pindanda and Brahmanda. That also they say. There is even one song, I forgot how it goes. Khelati Pindande Bhagavan. Ishvara plays in this mass of blood, bones, flesh. Ishvara, it's a playground for Ishvara. And it's kind of nice to think of the body as a playground for Ishvara. It's a lot of fun. If we can visualize that. If the body-mind sense complex can be, as we talked about in the Gita class last evening, can be, one can let go of one's agenda and make that a nimitta for Bhagavan's flow, then Bhagavan definitely will flow. Even in this finite body-mind sense complex. So the difference between Pinda and Brahmanda is also mithya. It is like saying the individual is not connected to the total. The individual is outside of the total. That makes no sense at all. Absolutely no sense. How can the individual be outside of the total? It makes no sense. Because when I think of the limitless, what does it include? It has to include the limited. The limited should be included in the limitless. That's why the worship, etc., becomes a very important preparatory steps for the assimilation of this knowledge. Because when in the morning puja, for example, we have this 108 names. 108 names are chanted with the offering of flower with each name. And if we examine the names of Bhagavan, whether in the Vishnu Sahasranama or the 108 names Ashtottara, if we examine the names of Bhagavan, they are all names infinite. They all describe the infinite. You who are all-knowing, Sarvajñāya Namaha. Unto you who are all-knowing, my namaskars, my salutations, my surrender. Sarvashaktimate Namaha. Unto the one who is all Shakti. Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. Maya Shakti, the one who is the wielder of Shakti, the one who has all kinds of Shaktis, the one who plays with the Shaktis, the one who directs the Shaktis everywhere, unto that one, unto the most powerful one, powered by all these Shaktis, my namaskars. Sarva Vyapine Namaha, unto the one who is all pervasive, my namaskars. These three names, if we take, we see something very interesting. Sarvajñāya Namaha. Who is saying that? Jiva. What is this Jiva? Alpajñā. Alpajñā is invoking Sarvajñā. Alpajñā means what? Small knowing is invoking all knowing. Sarvajñā means all knowing. Small knowing invokes the all knowing. Is small knowledge included in all knowledge? Yes. So when the small knowing says, please accept my surrender, that means the small knowing and the small knowledge has surrendered No more is there small knowing, no more am I small knowing. What is there? All that is there is all knowing. That is why the puja becomes extremely healing, heals instantaneously this separation between Jiva and Ishvara. Because there is an immersion and there is a conscious, deliberate immersion of the one who feels estranged by these very same qualities and attributes that we are invoking. I know what knowledge is, but I don't even remember where I put the keys. This is the extent of my knowledge. I can hardly remember. You are all knowledge. So in the beginning, what is there? How can I be included in this? Because all knowledge and small knowledge, no knowledge, seem to be opposite attributes. Opposite only from the one particular standpoint. From the standpoint of the body, mind, sense complex, yes, opposite attributes. Not from the standpoint of the whole. This has to be remembered. So the working knowledge, which is wrong, the working understanding, or should I say the working misunderstanding that I am separate from Ishvara, is consciously, deliberately erased in every act of worship. Every act of worship. So when I say, all knowledge-aya namaha, who is saying that? Small knowledge, no knowledge. And the no knowledge surrenders, and there is no more no knowledge. Because if you have surrendered, you are not there. The ahankara is not the ahankara identified with the thought, I am small knowledge, is no longer there. That's why the namaskara is very important. So, namaskara means you lie down flat on the floor. And that is what trims the ego and the middle portion also of the body. So it trims both those things. So, middle portion literally translates to Madhya Pradesh. Okay? Yeah. So this, it is very, namaskara is very slimming for the body, for the ego, the ahankara as well. So in front of Bhagavan I do a namaskara, then there is a conscious and deliberate erasure of this miserable self into that which is joyous and the only thing that is there. All knowledge-aya namaha. Oh, suddenly I feel better. Why? Because the one with whom the small knowledge was attached is no longer there. That has been, at least for the time being, either erased or suspended. Of course, the force of the ajnanam and the habitual ways of being brings it up. That's why it's not enough to do one puja in the lifetime. That's why this Ashtottara has to be done morning and evening, morning and evening. Sometimes 3 times a day. Keep doing it because it's the force of the ajnanam and the habitual orientation being such that we need all the puja that one can get. Sarva Shaktimate Namaha. Unto the one who wields various kinds of Shaktis, Namaha. Who is saying? Alpa Shakti. In fact, Nishakti. The one who has no Shakti. Anybody you ask, how are you exhausted? Hey, so tired. And it's catching. You be around 2-3 people who say exhausted, after a while you suddenly don't feel well. Then you go to your room and then you say, oh, I'm fine now. What happened? What happened? You became empathetic, that's all. You became empathetic to the one who was feeling pathetic. That's what happened. And so, Sarva Shakti Mate Namaha, the one who doesn't feel well. When? Constantly. Constantly. Every time a new ailment. Or sometimes an old ailment. Old ailment in a new bottle. Yes. When they come and proceed to tell me, I'll say we have discussed this before. No, we haven't. This is new. Yeah. Then I let them talk. It's old. Okay? Yeah. So, this is the one. The one that is saying to the one who is Balavan, full of Shakti, ever new, ever fresh. Namaha. Who is saying Namaha? The one who feels like a forgotten leftover in the fridge. Okay? That one says Namaha. The leftover says Namaha. The residual person with no energy says Namaha. To whom? Sarva Shaktiman. And there itself is an instant energy. Suddenly. Because it's all right here. It's all right here. Ishvara is not far away. Instant connection to Ishvara invoked specifically in the form of all Shakti means what? The sad one that was dragging itself around is gone. I have completed the funeral rites of that one. Gone. And what is left? All Shakti. All Shakti is what is left. And what do? I plug into that all Shakti. This is the secret. This is what it is. Everybody used to wonder. We all used to wonder how Pujya Swamiji runs from here to there and goes here, goes there. And Pujya Swamiji himself used to say, if you knew all the things that were wrong with me, you would yourself say, Pujya Swamiji, please don't teach. Please just rest. You would forbid me from teaching. But you saw him. You saw him one day here, one day there. And then in between seeing so many people inaugurating this thing, that thing. Nothing was too much. Why? Because always in this mode, in the Paramarthika place, not in the Vyavaharika mode. Sarva Shakti Mate Namaha. Sarvajnaya Namaha. What was the third one? Think about it and talk to me in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.